Welcome to our second lesson in biology. The first part of the lesson we looked at, or we focused on the introduction to biology. We defined what biology is. We looked at the branches of biology, and you know that biology is a study of living organisms by now. And we did look at characteristics of living organisms in detail. We ended by looking at the metabolic reaction, or what metabolic reaction is, and the types of metabolic reaction, which are two: anabolic and catabolic, and examples on each. So to build on the introduction that we looked at, today's lesson we are going to focus on cell structure. Looking at cell structure, what we are going to start with, we are going to start by looking at the simple structure of both plant and animal cell. Now, there's something important that you need to know. Prior to this lesson, you should have looked at also the microscope, or there is a lesson that I did, that is a live session, where we discuss the parts of the microscope and of course its use. So the microscope is an important instrument that we use in the study of cells, and there are quite a number of there are different types of microscope. Some of them that we can talk of, we have the light microscope and of course electric microscope. Light microscope, these diagrams that you are able to see will say they are from the light microscope, because for it you cannot see much detailed parts. So these are the parts that you see under the light microscope, and we are going to see the one that is now from electron microscope. So we can say these are from the light microscope. So let me just put this one as figure 1.1 and this one as figure 1.2. So since we are saying these cells that we have, one of these is the plant cell, and of course the other one is the animal cell. Can you identify which one is a plant cell, which one is an animal cell? So, well, this first one is an animal cell. Okay, so this one is animal cell. Then, of course, which means the other one is the what? Is the plant cell. So the other one is the plant cell. Now, what is important here is that we should be able to fully label these diagrams. Okay, so we need to fully label these diagrams. So maybe just to label the diagrams, let me just clear this part so that we can put the parts. So we are going to start with animal cell. Okay, so we are going to say animal cell. Okay, then the other part we are going to say plant cell. Okay, so now what is part A in an animal cell? So part A, when you look of, or when you talk of an animal cell, that is what we call the cell membrane. So if you find a cell like that, just know that that is an animal cell, and of course the part, the outer layer, in other words, is the cell membrane. Then we have part B. Okay, part B. What is part B? So the inside part there is called the cytoplasm. So that is called the cytoplasm. Then we have C. What is our C? So our C, that is the center part which is dark. Okay, that is called the nucleus. Okay, that is called the nucleus. So these are the ones that you see under the light microscope. But as we can see, as we are going to see, when you get to look at what you view under electron microscope or at high resolution, we are going to see that there are some of the parts that we are going to find. So let us look at now for the plant cell. So we have equally A. Let me just put letters B. We have C. We have D. Okay. So what are the parts, or what is the part labeled A? So look at this. This animal cell only has a single layer outside, but for the plant cell, you can see there are two layers, this and of course this. So the first layer, that is outside part, that is A, that is the cell wall. So it has the cell wall. Then of course B, that is where you find now the cell membrane. And we are going to look at the functions of each and every part here. Then of course this circular like, okay, these ones I should have shaded them green. These ones that is what we call, so since we are just pointing at one, that is what we call chloroplast. Okay, so that is the chloroplast. Then we have D. What is D? So D is the inner part there, this hole in red, and that is what we call the vacuole. Okay, is there any part that I've left? I think that is what we have for this. So with a simple structure for animal cell, you only have 3 visible parts. That is the cell membrane, the cytoplasm, and the nucleus. But for a plant cell, you have the cell wall, you have the cell membrane, the chloroplast, as well as the vacuole. I guess I've forgotten one part with this part. Okay, so this inside part here, I've forgotten one part with this plant cell. So the inside part here is what we call let me put this one to be E. So E, we are going to say it is E is the cytoplasm. So that is the cytoplasm. Okay, so please make sure that you check if we've not left any parts. Now, the other thing that you should know are the similarities between plant and animal cell. So the similarity that is there, it is in the parts that they have. So they both have cell membrane, as you can see. They both have cell membrane. Then they both have cytoplasm, as you can see. Both have cytoplasm. Then nucleus, they both have the nucleus. I've forgotten again another part. So the other part that we should take note is this part right here. So since that is A, so this one will be F. So it has also the nucleus. Okay, so we can tick also on the nucleus. So they both have the cell membrane, the cytoplasm, as well as the nucleus. So these are the similarities that are there. Talk of the differences. So when you are asked to give the differences between plants and animal cell, should be able to talk of the cell wall, the vacuole, and also the chloroplast. Now, if the question is differentiate or distinguish between plant and animal cell, at times it might not come that way, but you might be given 2 diagrams like this. And of course, the first question might be to identify the cell. That is, let's say this is A and that is B. Let's say identify cell A and B. When you identify them, then of course you might have maybe a question that is asking you to talk of maybe to label the parts, then of course give the differences that are there between the 2 cells. So one of the difference that you can put, I just want to show you how you present your work. So let's say one of them that we've noticed here is cell wall. So you're going to say plant cell has cell wall, whereas or while animal cell does not have cell wall. I think that is the proper way that you can put the difference between the 2. So that is one. So plant cell has cell wall, whereas animal cell does not have a cell wall. Okay, so another one that you can put, maybe plant cell have a chloroplast, whereas animal cell does not have chloroplast. So that is how you put them. Don't write plant cell has cell wall like this. Plant cell has cell wall. Then again you start another sentence. Animal cell do not or does not have cell wall. I think you should not write this way, but present it in this form. So that is what I wanted to clarify here. So it should be able to point out other differences, such as in terms of the vacuum, and also you can look at in terms of the shape. As you can see, the animal shape, the animal cell, the shape is irregular, but the plant cell, the shape is regular. So you can talk of also in terms of the shape. So this is what we need to look at in terms of the simple structure of the plant and animal cell. Let us shift our attention now to look at the detailed structure of the plant and animal cell. Like I said, we are going to find additional parts that we are going to look at. As you know, the first one, we are viewing it under the light microscope, but for the second one, for the second part, which is a detailed one, this is under electric microscope, which has high magnifying power. Okay, all right, so let us label the parts. So we are going to start from this side, labeling the parts. So this is, as you can see, first, are you able to identify this one? Is it a plant cell or animal cell? That is the question you should ask yourself. So it happens that this is an animal cell, a detailed one. This is an animal cell. Now, what are the parts? So the first part here is the cell membrane. Okay, so that is the cell membrane. That is the first part. Then now, what about the second part? It is the inside part there, cytoplasm. Okay, so that is the cytoplasm. Then of course we have these parts. Okay, these parts. What is that part? So that is called the smooth that is smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Then we have this body of vesicles. This is what we call Golgi bodies. So one is called Golgi apparatus, but a lot of them, like you can see, there are power of them. So that is called Golgi bodies. They are called Golgi bodies. Then of course we have this, a sausage-like. This is what we call the mitochondrion. Okay, mitochondrion, but plural is called mitochondria. So plural mitochondria, but for singular is mitochondrion. Then of course we have this ready part here. So the ready part here, these all over, these are what we call ribosomes. So these are what we call ribosomes. Then we have another part here, which is this one with the red stuff around it. So that is what we call rough endoplasmic reticulum. So endoplasmic reticulum, they are of two types, rough and smooth. As we are going to discuss there, as we go into looking at their functions, you are going to understand better why they have different names, that is smooth and rough. Okay, so these are the parts for the detailed animal cell. As you can see, there are parts that we are coming across for the first time, such as the endoplasmic reticulum, the Golgi bodies, the mitochondria, the cytoplasm, the cell membrane. We had it in the first one. And one thing I've forgotten is that the nucleus is what you are seeing right here. So this inside part, the whole of this is the nucleus. The whole of this is the nucleus. But we have some parts now. So this opening into the nucleus is called the nuclear pore. So these openings that you are able to see, that is the nuclear pore. Then of course, the inside part now, this dark part is no longer called the nucleus. Instead, it is called the nucleolus. So that is what we call the nucleolus. Then of course, you have the nuclear membrane. So these around are called nuclear membrane. So which means the nucleus now, it is into three parts. So the whole of the nucleus that we've looked at, it has the nuclear membrane, Then inside it has the nucleolus. Then there are some opening which are called the nuclear pore. So the whole that is what we call the nucleus. Okay, but not to worry about that. The parts that we focus on are the endoplasmic reticulum, that is the smooth and the rough, and also the Golgi bodies and the mitochondria. All right, so that is the detailed structure of the animal cell, and this is what we expect in an exam. I think in a certain year, after going through this lesson, you should be able to find this question. It came in a certain year. Let us have a look at the plant cell. If that was the animal cell, then this is the plant cell, the detailed structure. So equally here, let us start by identifying the parts. So as always, this first part here is called the cell wall. Then of course that is the cell membrane, the cell membrane. Then we have the rough, as you can see from where we are coming from. So the rough endoplasmic reticulum. So I'll just say rough ER for endoplasmic reticulum, but should be able to finish it when you identify it. Then the other one I'll say smooth, as you can see, the same, but this one does not have the ribosomes on it, a body or surface. So this is the smooth ER, meaning that is smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Then we have these parts which are called ribosomes. Then we have these green circular parts, and that is what we call the chloroplast. Remember where we are coming from, the chloroplast. Then also we have this inside part, this big part here, which is the vacuole. So equally here the vacuole is visible. Then this side we have the power of vesicles here. Where we are coming from, we said Golgi bodies. These are called Golgi bodies, but one just called the Golgi apparatus. So you should take note of that. Then we have the sausage-like structure. Even where we are coming from, we came across this part, and this is what we call the mitochondrion. So mitochondrion. Remember I said plural called mitochondria. So these are the parts of the detailed plant and animal cell, and equally here the parts that we are coming across for the first time, we have the endoplasmic reticulum, that is the smooth, rough, and also we have the mitochondria as well as the Golgi bodies. I forgot to label the ribosomes. Okay, we have the ribosomes. So these parts that I've ticked are the ones that we are coming across for the first time. And if you can see, all these parts also feature in an animal cell. So in addition to the similarities, we can say they both have rough endoplasmic reticulum as well as smooth endoplasmic reticulum. They both have ribosomes, and also you can talk of the Golgi bodies. So that is very important. Now, after looking at these parts, since you've come across, so after looking at these parts, the next part now we should be able to understand their functions. So that is one of the very important part that we need to learn. That is, what are the functions of these parts that we've looked at, starting from the simple one to the detailed one. What are the functions of the parts? So that is the next part that we are going to look at. Okay, so to start with, we are going to start with a nucleus. What is the function of the nucleus? So in short, the nucleus controls all the activities and it stores genetic information. One of the topics that we are going to cover in biology is under genetics. So you should be able to know that the cell controls all cell activity or all activities and store genetic information. Then also the other part that we can talk of is the cell membrane. Now the cell membrane, the function is to control the substances that enters and leaves the cell. So it controls the substances that enter and leaves the cell. Now some of you might say, or you might have heard, or you might misunderstand this part. The function of the cell membrane is not that it is selectively permeable. The function is to control the entry of the substances in and out of the cell. Its adaptation is that it is selectively permeable. And of course, the selectively permeability is based on the size of the substances. Small substances such as oxygen is allowed to diffuse freely into the cell, and of course carbon dioxide diffuse out of the cell. So it is based on size. And of course, as you go higher in biology, you are going to learn about the makeup of the cell membrane, which are lipids and proteins. Okay, for the meantime, we can just look at what I've just explained. All right, the other part that we can look at is the cytoplasm. So the cytoplasm is a site for cell activities. So that is where the cell activities occur. As you know, the cytoplasm is the whole of this part, and it is jelly-like. Okay, so that is where all cell activities take place. Okay, and it encompasses cell organelles. All right, then the other thing that you can talk of is the mitochondria. So mitochondria, we said, is the sausage or rod-shaped or sausage-shaped structure in a cell. And of course, the main function or the function of the mitochondria, it is the site for respiration. So that is where there are sites for respiration. So that is the function of the mitochondria. So they are site for respiration. Now, if they are site for respiration, you know that respiration produces energy. So they are sometimes called the powerhouse. So in the case you find the question, which part of the cell is called the powerhouse? If you are given the detailed part, just know that that is what we call, the part is called mitochondrion. That is the part that is called the powerhouse. And of course, for a reason that I've explained. Then now, the other part that we can look at are ribosomes. Ribosomes are these red dots that I've put here. That is what we call ribosomes. Now, ribosomes can be found freely suspended in the cell or can be found on the surface of endoplasmic reticulum. We are going to look at endoplasmic reticulum soon. Now, what is the function of the ribosomes? So that is where protein synthesis takes place. So as we go higher in biology, you're going to look at the process of protein synthesis, quite an interesting part of biology. All right. Then let us have a look at now the endoplasmic reticulum. What are the functions of the endoplasmic reticulum? Now, from where we are coming from, we know that there are two types of endoplasmic reticulum. That is the smooth and rough endoplasmic reticulum. So mainly, or let me say general function of the endoplasmic reticulum is transportation. So transportation within, let me say, of substances within the cell. So the function of the endoplasmic reticulum is transportation of the substances within the cell. But what substances does each one transport? That is the rough ER, which is the rough endoplasmic reticulum. We are going to start with this part. What substance does the rough endoplasmic reticulum transport? Okay. So the rough endoplasmic reticulum, since it has ribosomes on it, and we are saying ribosomes are site for protein synthesis. So this one transports proteins. Okay, transports proteins within the cell. So that is the function of the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Then for the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, it transports lipids. Okay, so let me say smooth ER. So for the smooth ER, we can say transports lipids. So that is something that you should really know. So rough endoplasmic reticulum transport proteins, and of course the smooth transports lipids. But you know the general function is transportation of substances within the cells. All right, let us have a look at the Golgi bodies. what is the function of the Golgi bodies? So to modify and carry out proteins such as enzymes from the site of synthesis to the site of reaction. So they act as transport system as well. And of course, modify and carry out, that is modify proteins. Also this part, as you go higher in biology, you are going to look at how that is the process of protein synthesis, the modification and all that happens. So for the meantime, you have to know that it modifies and carry out protein, that is protein such as enzymes from the site of synthesis to the site of reactions. And of course, we looked at enzymes. I guess you know much about this part, or you've gone through that part already. If you've not, you have to go through. Then the other part that we can look at is the chloroplast. So chloroplast, please, this is L, and of course R, this is L. Let me just rewrite it. So chloroplast. So chloroplast carry out photosynthesis. How does it do that? So it contains chlorophyll, and chlorophyll traps the light energy important for the process of photosynthesis. So in other words, we can say chloroplasts carry out the process of photosynthesis, or help in carrying out the process of photosynthesis. Or in other words, you can say it contains chlorophyll, which trap light energy used in the process of photosynthesis. Then let us look at the vacuole. So the vacuole is filled with fluid. Okay, it is filled with fluid, okay, called cell sap, and this fluid is just the mixture of salts, sugars, and water. And the importance of the vacuole is that it plays an important role in the movement of water into and out of the cell. So we can say plays an important role in movement of water in and out of the cell. Okay, so it creates that concentration gradient for osmosis to take place. Then the part that we can look at also, we can look at the cell wall. So what is the cell wall? So the cell wall is only found in plant cell, and this is the outermost part of the cell, and it is made up of the hard materials called cellulose. Okay, so that is the cell wall. Now, what is its function? So in plant cell, since it is found in plant cell, so it prevents damage, that is prevention of damage to the cell, or prevention of bursting when the cell, plant cell gains a lot of water. So let me just write that. Preventing bursting. Okay, so prevention of bursting when a cell takes a lot of water. So that is the function of the cell wall. Okay, so that is where we can end. We have looked at the structure of the simple structure of animal and plant cell. We have looked at the parts of the simple structure of the plants and animal cell. We have looked at the differences between the plants and animal cell. We have looked at the detailed structure of the plant and animal cell, the parts that are in the detailed structure, and also we ended by looking at the functions of the cell parts. Okay, so we can end here. The next part we are going to look at cell specialization, and I urge you to study in advance. This is one of the critical part that most people find challenging when it comes to cells. So study in advance. So we've come to the end of the lesson. So please, if you are interested in the lessons, that is online lessons, you can call the number 0976 40253. And of course, if you are found or you are within Lusaka physically, we are found in Kabwata area. That is just near Kabwata Primary School. So you can come through for physical lessons. Otherwise, see you in the next one.